Hi. Hi guys, just wanted to preface that this is actually for an assignment, and I thought I would just make this public content because why not? I haven't really released anything on YouTube in a really long time, so two birds, one stone kind of thing. So yeah. So earlier last month, I had the honor of joining a few other fellow JMC peers from my uni. Shout out to JMC. We did a whole bunch of things that I will talk about throughout this kind of short mini series that I'm doing, but it's basically kind of just a Spark Notes summary of my biggest takeaways on the trip. But before we get started on this, and on the off chance that some rando is watching me that I do not personally know, I'll give a little about me segment. So my name is Deborah. I currently run as Creative Nini on my other kind of more creative endeavors. Technically it's Nini, like in Tagalog. But anyways, I do a little bit of songwriting, which is why I study at JMC. I study as a Bachelor of Music student. I also do a little bit of film photography, but check out my stuff there if you're interested, and if you're not, then it is what it is. But anyways, so this is a super fun trip and super epic trip, and what I have taglined to a lot of people as the cheapest trip to America that I'll ever have in my life, because a lot of the things that I did and the costs and experiences that I had were all sorted out and paid for by JMC. We went to loads of places, like standard tourist stuff like Santa Monica and Disneyland, but we also went to more music related places like East West Studios, as well as Chris Lord Studios and the Vintage Synthesizer Museum, which was really cute and chaotic. As we all know, LA is kind of like the hub for anything that is remotely creative. So it's like the place to be for an up and coming artist, or, you know, if you're a TikToker as well, it's been a really large hub for people to move to. Basically, it's like if you want to do anything creative remotely, you have to move to LA. It's like a canon event. And so in turn, it kind of made this place super, super creative as we went to visit it. Like a lot of the creative spaces that we saw were really epic. But I will also preface that throughout this whole series, everything is based on my personal experience. I'm not a professional. So if I get my facts wrong, uh-oh. And if you disagree with the things that I say, then feel free to, you know, leave a comment down below, and I will do absolutely nothing about it besides read about it, maybe reply. But yeah. But anyways, my not so very hot take is that writing songs at home versus writing songs on a trip dedicated to music is definitely different. Like, it's different air. Honestly, prior to this trip, and for a while too, I've been going through a kind of creative slump, and just couldn't really find myself kind of inspired or revigorated enough creatively to just churn out some good tunes and write some decent songs, or write songs in general. In comparison, when I was on the trip, my productivity was kind of very much actually functional, because I was forced to meet a deadline for some of the kind of assessment sorted tasks that we kind of were doing in pairing with LACM, Los Angeles College of Music. And because I was also interacting with a lot of like-minded musicians who had something different about them in comparison to me, I guess, obviously. But it also had a lot to do with the creative spaces that I was finding myself in as we toured a whole bunch of different places. Definitely boosted my writing abilities, and I felt less difficulty writing on that trip. Even if some of the stuff I wrote I wasn't very happy with, but it was something, you know? And I think that a major contribution towards that whole kind of thing at the time, and that I'm working on in the present, is actually sorting out the space that I was creating in. So, as with most people, you kind of just end up sorting yourself and recording in a bedroom studio. And so I have some gear that I'm blessed with. Like, it's nothing bad for sure. But the idea of kind of setting myself up to record and everything, like, it always felt like such a drag because it would be like, shift your keyboard here, said keyboard, and then, you know, let's grab our guitars from there, and let's do this, that, and let's plug this in here, and let's plug that in there, and oh no, you know, my plugins are a mess. I need to resort everything out because these plugins take up so much space on my computer and I can never get it to like. But basically, the kind of whole thing about it is that it kind of gave me an attitude of it being like a super exhausting chore, or I'd be too lazy to even just, you know, do any of that stuff. I also kind of just associate my recording space, because it's my bedroom, with resting a lot, especially after like a shift at work. So, you know, sometimes I'm like, it's my break and I don't have work today, but it's a rest day. And so the pull of my bed is kind of a little stronger than, you know, actually sitting down on my desk to record stuff. And then compared to LA, I'm in these epic spaces, these wonderful studios and guest lounges, and even just generally a few of the streets as well. Although I will say, just pick the right streets. There's things that could be borderline weird, but to like a artsy fart like me, I'm like, oh man, that is sick and that is super unique. Wow, I want one. And these spaces are like all cultivated intentionally. Just like check out East West Studios that I'm gonna show now. As we talked to like the owners of East West Studios and stuff, they even said that often they would bake bread in their open area kind of communal kitchen, and so it would make the following area around it, because there's like no door to separate that from, let's say, the reception and where people would usually wait. It would make that area just smell like home for some people, because apparently to the American conscience, banana bread is associated with home. Can't say the same for me, but that's probably just an ethnic difference. But in saying that, though, there's definitely a fine line between an unfamiliar environment and one that you're comfortable in. But both can also be synonymous, too. Although I was quite literally across the globe, there was some familiarity in the sites that I saw. For example, rather than seeing eucalyptus trees, if I'm really choosing the most generic Australian tree out there, rather than eucalyptus trees, it was palm trees, and it was still the same kind of blue sky. Although we did go to Pasadena when it was really, really cloudy, which is very counter to how it usually is. But anyways, you just get really caught up in this whole romanticizing your trip vibe. Like, it's the air in America, or, you know, it's food in America, you know, it's shoes in America, blah, blah, this, that kind of thing. I mean, you just kind of view everything very differently, even if it's the same thing. One of my most favorite songwriting environments, just as a whole, is just being in my room. And here, definitely not in this corner of my room, because this corner is a mess. But I'm just sitting on my bed with my window open, and then I'm just strumming some random chords on my guitar and just trying to make some type of tune. And it was something that I could somewhat replicate at the location where we were staying at. I borrowed a mate's guitar. Thanks, Willow. But anyways, I would grab the guitar that I borrowed off of her, and then I would just sit on the couch, which was by the porch, or the kitchen table with the window behind me and the sun was streaming, when it was a sunny day actually, and just drummed and had fun. Even if I didn't really write anything in the moment, I think it was just very therapeutic. Yeah. But the moral of the story that I'm kind of creating here, which is very much messy, but you know, this is supposed to draw it all together, is that a creative person needs a creative space to do creative things. This trip definitely had got me prioritizing a creative kind of home studio look at home, so that I could kind of cultivate a space where I felt inspired to be creative, and so I could look cool too. Mostly, so I can look really cool. But anyways, thanks for watching. Look forward to the next one whenever I, you know, get that finished. And feel free to follow me down below with my socials down there once again, because eventually, once I get my mess sorted, I'm hoping to release a few tunes, a few music videos on YouTube and Spotify, in collaboration with some very talented people, and also solo by myself, hopefully by the end of this year or next year, start of I'm going to keep it very loosely because I don't know when. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!